absolute banger in the UFC's heavyweight division coming up this weekend. We have a giant fall from grace for a guy who headlined his last two fights in Augusto Sakai, taking on Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa, a guy who knocked out Greg Hardy in one of the most hellacious KOs we've seen in recent memory. Matt, I love the fight because for Augusto Sakai, what's the thing that got him to the dance? Was it a split decision loss to Czech Congo over with Bellator?
Maybe.
Not necessarily, but that was his last loss coming into the UFC. That was his only loss on his pro record. And then you look at it, in his last two fights, he loses to Alistair Overeem, where he gets out-volumed and taken down.
I don't think he looked that bad early on.
Didn't necessarily think I was going to get that type of performance out of Mr. Augusto Sakai. And then in his last fight, well, Jairzinho finally decided, I'm going to do what got me to the dance, and I'm going to knock him out in the first round. So for Sakai, he goes from headlining his last two fights, and they weren't that long ago, really. Like, you might think about it, well, Overeem's been away for a long time. That main event was only a year and 2 months ago, and then his fight against Jairzinho was about 6 months ago. So he's healed up. He's back in here against Tuivasa, who had his own struggles. He had that 3-fight losing streak. He lost to JDS, Blagoy, and Sergey Spivak. But then you look at the wins. He knocks out Stefan Struve once in the fight and once after the fight. He knocks out Harry Hunsucker, who was in on short notice. And then he knocks out Greg Hardy. And all's not lost with old Tai Tuivasa, right?
He did get hurt, though, right before he knocked out Greg Hardy, and that's a little bit concerning. And I think that's something that we all kind of forget about, but it was a pretty big point in that fight. The reason Tai Tuivasa knocked out Greg Hardy was that Hardy hits him with a right hand, hurts Tuivasa, then gets excited and opens himself up and gets hit with a big knockout shot. But I do worry about Tuivasa's just not his ability to take a shot. I shouldn't say that. I worry about his striking defense for being such a highly touted striker and for being such a natural striker, because we don't normally see guys who have a Muay Thai background or a boxing background show up to the UFC and then just be very hittable on the feet. But that really has been the story for Tai Tuivasa. I always go back to the Blagoy-Ivanov fight, because I know we probably talk about Blagoy more than we should, but
the guy got stabbed in the heart, was in a coma for 2 months, and then continued his career. He beat Fedor Emelianenko in Sambo.
Exactly.
Blagoy.
If you think that's not hard to do, you don't know the combo Samba. Or I don't even know. Okay. This is the thing about Augusto Sakai. He is a very, very big heavyweight, but he doesn't really fight like one. And that's why I was really excited when he first came over to the UFC, because I know he's not like a 265 heavyweight, but frame-wise, he's huge. He lumbers forward. He has good leg kicks. He seemed to be a more complete heavyweight than you normally see just make their UFC debut. And yes, I understand. He's not just some guy off the street. Like, he had a good level of competition coming in, but I had pretty high hopes for Augusto Sakai. The only thing I'll zag, though, with what you had said was, I thought he looked okay against Overeem until Overeem did start going for the takedown. I think the big key in this fight, and what both fighters have to know, is that their opponent has zero game off of their back. Like, if you're Augusto Sakai and you get one takedown, you're going to destroy Tai Tuivasa. Probably knock him out with ground and pound in the first round. It won't be close. And I know takedowns aren't really part of Tuivasa's game, but if you're Tuivasa, you're probably telling yourself, okay, if I hit him and drop him one time, he also has nothing off of his back, so I'll be more tempted to jump into his guard and go for the finish on the ground. Because with Tuivasa, it's okay. I drop my opponent, then I kind of have to wait for them to get back up because I'm so hesitant with my own grappling. I don't think he's going to have that same limitation in this fight.
Matt, really looking at a Sears Christmas wish book. And in that book, Matt, you will find for $0 the fact that Tai Tuivasa has not gotten a single takedown in his UFC career. And Augusto Sakai averages 0.14 takedowns per 15 minutes.
Okay, if you were Sakai's coach, you're probably telling him, like, hey, shoot one takedown and we win this fight.
Yeah, if you want to take it for Sakai, you're going to look at the fight that Sergey Spivak had against Tai Tuivasa. And if you want it for Tuivasa, go in there like Rosenstruik. Blitz him quick and knock him out. Easier said than done. You want a good win for Sakai? You go look at his fight against Marcin Tybura. He knocked him out right around the 1 minute mark. You want a good win for Tuivasa? I don't know, Hunsucker, Struve, Greg Hardy, like, what do you want out of me? So when I look at this fight, Matt, I find that it's lined properly, although I think it kind of shades Sakai and his experience a little bit. This line's at par. So listen, you can flip your coin. It's a free vote. It's an interesting one there. We look at the votes on Tapology. 595 total votes, 79% Tuivasa, 88% by knockout for the 21% that have Sakai, 63% by decision. I think that Augusto Sakai has a more well-rounded base in striking than Tai Tuivasa. Why do I say that? Head, body, kicks, everything that he brings together. His length, his distance management. Everything is there. His chin wasn't there his last fight, and against Overeem, his takedown defense wasn't there. Tuivasa is not going for takedowns. Matt wants them, but it won't happen.
Exactly.
So Tuivasa's out there to strike. He's out there to bang. He's out there to put on a great performance. I can't wait to hear the walkout song. Hopefully it doesn't go to commercial and we see some home hardware ad on TSN. But Matt, in this one, I have Brazil's Sakai ever so slightly, but when you have heavyweights like this at even money, I sit there, I eat my popcorn, I enjoy it.
This is the most 50-50 fight on the card because whoever lands the first clean shot is probably going to win. It's as easy as that. If Sakai hits Tuivasa with like a clean right hand, wobbles him, he's going to finish him pretty much right after. And the same thing has to be said for Tuivasa against Sakai. I agree with you though. I do think Sakai has the slightly more well-rounded form of striking. He does invest in the leg kick. He does have decent volume. Again, I remember watching the Overeem Sakai fight thinking Sakai got destroyed. But I rewatched that fight this week, and it was more competitive than I had originally thought it was. And I do think that you can take some positives out of that matchup. I liked his volume. I liked his striking on the outside in that matchup. But the problem with Sakai always will be takedown defense, and the same thing has to be said for Tuivasa. So I think this is going to be a really good fight, but I don't think we're going to learn a lot about either one of these fighters.
Matt, the fans down below, if they just watch this pick, they're going to be disappointed, both of us going with Augusto Sakai. But if you watch the video, you know there's a great opportunity for both of these guys in this one. It's a free vote. You let us know down below who you have in this fight between the Australian and the Brazilian. We have some big-time fights on our main card. And even still to come, Josh Emmett, Dan Ige. My favorite fight of the weekend. You're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.